I'm making progress on the 71 Cutlass restoration. In the last video, we got all of the bodywork on the roof finished up, but we ran into some major issues that took me a lot longer than I thought it would. That puts me really behind schedule with this car. We're gonna have to make up a lot of time in this video. What we're gonna do is we're gonna finish the entire rear, so the deck lid, the top of the quarter, and then the whole entire front. So the hood and then the tops of the fenders have to be completely finished in bodywork by the end of this video. To help me stay on track and stay motivated and get this done, I'm gonna set the timer to 25 hours per. So I'm gonna do 25 hours on the whole rear of the car and then 25 hours on the front of the car. So 50 hours to get the entire top of this car blocked out and finished in bodywork. This is gonna get a major part of this done, and hopefully we're gonna be able to make time. So get ready, because we're gonna do a lot of sanding in this episode. So we've got a lot of bodywork to do. Now, you have to remember when doing bodywork, there is one major thing that you have to pay attention to. You can either have too much filler or not enough filler. The goal, of course, is to get the filler perfectly in the middle, right where you want it. So you can see we're breaking through right here. We're breaking through right here. That means this just barely has enough filler to make it smooth. If I keep sanding right here, it's gonna create a low spot because the metal is harder than the mud. So it's gonna be hard, soft. It's gonna dig that out. But then the other problem you could run into is it could be high here. So you're putting too much pressure and it's not blocking it evenly, and then it's high, so you have to block that down. All of this is filling, so you got to fill the car, see how it fills, and make sure it's smooth the entire way. So I'm going to start scuffing the quarter and the rear of the car just to get all those heavy scratches in it so the mud has something to bite to. That way it doesn't flake off. And then I'm going to get all this blocked out first and then work my way to the rear of the car and get all this blocked, and then we will jump to the front. So before I put any body filler on the quarter panel, I'm going to mix up some Duraglass. Duraglass is just a fiberglass reinforced filler, and it's actually a lot stronger than regular body filler. You also can put it on a lot thicker. If you remember that when I did the metalwork on this Cutlass, this driver quarter was completely rotted out. So I replaced the entire quarter and I did a seam right along that driver B-pillar. Now I've already coated that seam in panel bond or 8115, and that not only makes the weld or the seam completely waterproof, it also strengthens it a lot. But just for insurance and just to go above and beyond, I'm gonna coat that whole thing in Duraglass just because I never want to have to repaint this car again. So now it should be plenty strong and I'll never have any issues with the mud cracking out. So I'm actually gonna be doing a complete panel match on this car, so you can see how I mudded over the top of the door and into the quarter. I wanna block this car out as if it's one shape because I want it to look like it's one shape when it's finished. And the only way to do that is mud the entire car. Alrighty, so I have 18 hours and 33 minutes left on the clock right now. So I've gone through about a quarter of my time, and I think I'm kind of moving. I think I'm doing okay. So I got this blocked out down here, which wasn't even a part of it. I just wanted to get all this blended together. This is almost done. I just have to do one more good block, but you can see I'm blending the whole top of the door with the quarter so that the whole car is one shape as it goes. I want my door to stick out just a little bit so my door edge is thin. I'd rather have it thicker on the quarter panel than on the edge of the door so you don't have the super thick edges. But this is coming out super nice. Off camera, I've been making a ton of progress on the hood, so I pretty much got all this blocked out and smooth. I'm almost done with that section right there. I just don't really feel the need to film everything just because it's really repetitive. So as soon as I get that blocked out, then I'll start to kind of blend the fenders and the hood, but we're waiting on some parts to do that. So we're gonna jump to the... You messed it up. So we're gonna jump to the back. So back here, what I did is I circled all of my low spots with pencil. That way, I'm gonna I am gonna skim coat the whole back of this, but starting off, I'm just gonna mud these lower spots, block them out until I start to have the pencil show through, and that way I know that's good. And then once all this is good, then I'll do a skim all the way across the whole deck lid, and then I'll do one block all the way out, smoothing the whole thing, hopefully before my clock runs out. I feel like I'm moving and I'm just trying to really get through this so I can get to the next part of this build. Let's get this thing blocked out. All right, well, that worked out actually really well. So you can kind of see, this one's a perfect example. You can see my pencil mark right here where the circle is, and then the mud just blends out really nicely. So that whole spot was low. If I would have mudded this whole thing, I would have sanded the whole thing, and then this probably would have still been a little low. So that's why I did this. Some spots I actually didn't mud enough. So like right here, I should have mudded out a little bit more. This probably took care of probably 90% of the issues here, and you can see how low all of this was, but now it's all smooth. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mud all the way from the edge of this quarter right there, all the way up to right here, and then I'm gonna do these little dabs of mud on the edges. That way it locks this panel into place and doesn't really move. You can see how much it moves right there. So we're gonna lock that in place so it'll be stiff like this. That way when we body work it, there won't be any panel deflection with this, so it'll be perfectly level with each other. I'm gonna get this whole thing clean and then mud the whole thing and start over and keep blocking it.
Something I forgot to mention earlier is I always recommend you use a really good quality body filler. I always use 3M, and yes, it's expensive, but I think that after all the time and all the effort and all the money that you're gonna put into body working your car, you do not want it to fail, because then you're gonna have to go and redo the whole thing. So all the materials that I use when doing restoration work are the exact same materials that all of the high-end shops are using around the country. Usually when talking price just alone for materials when doing a high-end paint job, you're probably gonna be around $10,000 just in materials. That's mud, that's primer, that's epoxy primer, that's gonna include your sealer, base, and clear. But just in paint materials, you're at least gonna be $10,000. Which, I mean, coming from me, I know that's a lot of money, but it's also part of it. You have to factor that into when you're doing a restoration. That's just what it costs.
Okay, barely under 9 hours, and I'm moving, but this thing's kicking my butt. So I've almost got the deck lid all the way blocked out to where it is pretty dang smooth. So I'd say it's probably 80% of the way there. I still have to mud this right here because it has a couple of spots along this. So I gotta mud that. And then coming up to the front of the car, I got pretty much these entire center sections finished. I just have to finish this, so I'm shaping this body line right now. But I really gotta step it up because I still have to body work both of these sections here, and I have to finish this section right here in order to make time. So 9 hours. This is a pretty difficult part of this build. Doing this main body work is extremely difficult, getting it perfect. So just trying to knock out most of the top right now. If I can get pretty much all of this finished up, that's gonna be good, because then all I have left to do is the sides, and that'll probably be in the next video, and then bodywork will be finished and we can move on to funner, cooler things. So 9 hours, let's get going.
So when I do bodywork, I use 3 different grits. I use 36 grit, I use 80 grit, and I use 150 grit. The 36 grit is used to green cut the mud, so when the mud's not totally hard yet and it's not quite soft, it's right in the middle, I use the 36 grit to really bring it down quickly. And then I'll go over that with the 80 grit to smooth out those scratches. The rest of the bodywork, I will do an 80 grit until it's smooth, and then I will guide coat it. So that is what you saw me put on the panel at the first of this. So that's that black powder that you saw me put on, and I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna block that out with 150 until all of the 36 grit and 80 grit scratches are completely removed. Not only that, you see me swapping my block from vertically to horizontally. That way I can completely block this as flat as I possibly can. The issue I ran into at first was it was smooth going from side to side, but going from bottom to top, it had a little bit of a hump in it. So then I flipped the block the other way to block that hump down, but you really just have to flip back and forth to make sure you're bringing it as evenly down as you possibly can.
All right, guys, just under 6.5 hours left, and I think I've almost got the trunk done. So that is one spread right there, and I was able to block out most of the rear. You can see I got it all the way down. I'm hitting metal right here. I'm hitting CRE here and here, metal, metal, CRE, CRE. So that's pretty much as flat as it needs to be. I have to do a second tiny mud on a couple of these spots on this lower flange right here, and then on a couple of these spots right here that didn't get filled all the way. So I'm gonna do one one more spread on those couple little spots, and then I'll block out the whole deck lid in 150, hopefully finishing the deck lid. Then I gotta jump to the roof and finish blocking out the roof in 150 because it's already finished in 80. I'll guide coat the other side, block all of that out. I gotta do a little bit of finishing work up along here. And then I also mudded both of the A-pillars, so I gotta block those out. And then I'm still, of course, working on the front of the hood, trying to get this thing blocked out. So kind of jumping around a little bit, which you really shouldn't do, but I mean, I'm just trying to get this whole top done, and I don't have a lot of time to do it.
This is the perfect example of why I love to use guide coat. Is you can see how that guide coat has filled all of the deep scratches. I'm just gonna sand until all of those scratches are gone.
Okay, well, our clock is slowly counting down. We got just under an hour and 45 minutes left, and I'm still pretty far away. But you can see I've got this blended out really nicely. I've got to do one more spread on this, but let me show you what I use to get this panel match to the deck lid, because you can see these are on two completely separate angles. So it's like this. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna use this, and I'm just gonna go right up to that, just to make sure it lines up with that edge. If you look at this side, pretty much doing the same thing. I had to do a little bit of glass work here because this was low. That is about right where we want it so that it lines up panel matched. You can see right here, I still have to take this down because it's not passing, it's hitting that mud, but up here it's good. So that's the way that I kind of gauge this. Talking about panel fitment, I also use these little 6-inch rulers just to see how the panels line up, because if you put it like this, you can see it's pretty much flush all the way across that. And that is exactly what you want. You don't want any mud on your edges, because then your edges are gonna look really thick, especially on the back parts of these doors. When you open them up, if they're super thick, people are gonna know that there's a lot of mud on that. So you wanna make sure that it's as thin as possible. And that's why I use this ruler, to get all my edges perfectly flush with each other. All this should be done in metal work, not in bodywork. So all this was finished, now bodywork's gonna be way easier. Well, I'm running out of time, but I mean, it is what it is. I try and make these times as realistic as I possibly can, but sometimes it's just a lot more work than you think. And I mean, it's whatever, but at least we're almost done. So I'm gonna keep going, crank this thing out. Oh no! That's it, look. Well, I mean, this thing was way worse than I thought, so it took me a lot longer. I'm not even finished with the back. So I'm gonna try and get the back finished up, and then I'll see you guys when it's done. This side is about 95% done. I'm so close to finishing all this. You see, I got this whole front of the fender completely blocked out, and it looks really nice, and then it blends in really nicely to the door. This was super difficult to get this perfectly straight, and then I was able to almost work this entire bottom section. Still needs a little bit more work down here, but it's just so hard to block that. So I just have a little bit of more finishing work on the bottom, and then a tiny bit more right here, and then this side will be completely done. As far as top of the fender and hood, I have to wait because I'm gonna have to Dremel the hinges to get the hood up, just because it sits so low, so I can't panel match that. So I'm gonna finish the rest of this kind of off camera, just because I don't want to bore you with the same stuff. So in the next video, I'm gonna get the hood hinge Dremeled so I can get the hood up and straight with the fender. That way I can do the body work on this, and then I'm gonna make sure that this side is completely finished, and then jump in the engine bay, do a tiny bit more fab, and finish up the bodywork on the other side. Hopefully the bodywork will be finished up in the next video, because man, it is kicking my butt. But I'm loving how this thing is coming out. I'm really excited to get this in CRE the second time, because that's really when you're gonna see how nicely it's all gonna fit together. So be sure to leave your thoughts down below. Do you think I have too much mud on this car, or do you think I have not enough? Let me know. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Peace out.